of Instructional Technology Support Services. This will be a recorded session for those who could not make it. There are approximately 35 people that showed interest in this. We'll start off with Professor Chungmin Lee from mathematics, and then we'll go into the next folks, and you can self-introduce. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Zhoumin Li. I'm from Math and Statistics. So I think in the summer in our department we have 4 different FLCs, and the one I joined that actually our leader actually mentioned about Gradescope at some point. And in the meantime, that we also heard from our colleagues from other universities or from math that were saying that, oh, this is interesting. This platform is useful. Especially to collect the written work that from the students. So I decided to give it a try, and I have 2 courses, and one I used the Beachboard Dropbox, and the other one I used this Gradescope. So just to quickly show how they look like, so I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully everybody can see them, and this is actually not my normal course. This is a test course I created. So one thing that I noticed that is actually a plus. I feel like compared to Dropbox on the Beachboard is suppose that the student wants to upload a homework or some assignment. Let's say I will say pretend that I'm uploading for somebody, and you actually can upload for your students. And then once you select some documents, you try to upload. It will actually do. The program will actually pre-process your submission, and so you actually can see whatever you're uploading, and that's nice because I think I have colleagues who that in last semester we used Dropbox on Beachboard on the exam, and people upload their exam, and then it's corrected file, and then we don't know how to correct them, and then we contact the students, and then 2 days later students say, oh sorry, and we don't know what happened during that 2 days. So this feature that I like about is the Gradescope actually lets students see that, oh, you uploaded your pre-process. So if it's corrupted file, Gradescope will not accept it. And at that time, the student will say, oh no, there's something wrong about the scan, and they can fix it. And grading wise, so this is a typical math assignment. This is actually a quiz that I just gave. So probably everybody can see that there are lots of steps involved, and the rubrics feature is quite nice. You can do group rubrics, and this I haven't compared with the Dropbox because I believe Beachboard has the same feature as well. The math equations, they support LaTeX, so which is nice for math people like me, and we can type pretty nice formulas in it. It can even do things like this. This is another assignment. So we can do pretty extensive math markup. There are also like writing, and then you can do texting, you can do text and things like that. So one thing I feel like it may be lacking is actually the handwritten feature. So you can see that I circled these things. Actually, I did this hand tool, and the hand tool actually is quite choppy if I do it on my iPad, and probably because my iPad is small, and then so the resolution is affected. So it's kind of choppy. On the other hand, Dropbox, some other classes on Dropbox using Dropbox, so it's similar. So I end up doing a lot of typing things like this. Typing looks nice, although it takes time. And then so that's one thing I wish this will get better, that the interface can improve the handwritten possibility. The rubrics actually we probably can see that I did the group of rubrics, and then there's a plus, and you can minus some things, and then for math that if you have students to show their work, most of the time we ask students to show their work because we want to see how they think. Quickly, I will start to create lots of rubrics, like small items, like there's a sign error, there's a typo, and there is some arithmetic mistakes. Everybody is wrong in the wrong way, in a different way. So everybody is wrong in a different way. That means that when I write rubrics, it becomes super long, and it lost its function of nicely categorized things. But on the other hand, is still very useful in the sense that you can, let's say at some point you're tired of writing all these small points as your rubrics, you can start to say, hey, please see the comments, there is something here and there. And the big items of the rubrics actually is useful when you look at the statistics. So for example, this is the quiz 2 I just gave, and then you can look at the statistics. It show you that how many people did it right or wrong, and the mean and maximum, all that things. And when you click into each problem, you actually can see more detailed things. So for example, you can see that, oh, what's the point distribution? And for each rubrics, you can see that how many people get that one or not get that one. So I find this sort of nice. You can see that how the students are doing. So that's about the grading. For the students, they can actually see what you write by, say there is a download grade copy. So if I click on this, and it will show you that, oh, here are the rubrics there. So sadly that all the math I typed becomes LaTeX formula. So, but on the other hand, that they list all these rubrics that the student can look, and then for example, they look at their work, they will see, oh, hey, there is something circled, and there are these 2, 1, 3. So these are the comments. If they click on them, they will show you that where they are. So each problem they can actually see that where it goes wrong, so where I have comments and which rubrics apply to them. So for that, I find this the student can potentially get nice feedback. One more thing I want to say that I think I'm saying too much is that there is this timed assign feature. So when I do quiz, I give them timed feature. So I give a maximum time. So you can enforce the time, and then if you have BMAX students, you can actually set up extension for them. They allow you to set up it's like 1.5 time or twice amount of time. So that's useful. On the other hand, that the older students, and let's say you have students who cannot, you have BMAX students who have to take a test at a later time because their extended time makes them go into the next class. And then you will set up this later deadline here. But the moment you set a later deadline, other students start to get confused, like, oh, I can do it later, really? And then and then you start get emails, and then you have to clarify, no, that's not about you. So in that respect, that the Dropbox is nice because you can set up spatial assets, which only are viewable to the people who have spatial assets, and so to reduce confusion for the other people. So I will stop share right here. I think that's my experience so far.
Thank you so much, Professor. So next on deck is Professor Elizabeth Sanchez. And I believe we have given you the opportunity to share your screen.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me? Yes, I work in the Department of Journalism, and I really wanted to try Gradescope because I teach 5 courses, and I just wanted, when students turn in a news article, traditionally, I like to get them on a paper format. And then I like to sort them and grade them that way. So what I love about Gradescope is it allows you to sort it out. So there's some elements that aren't as good as it can be, but I've been talking to Gradescope, the folks at Gradescope, and they tell me that they're trying to improve. So we've been working together and trying to find solutions to help you grade, essays. So I'm going to show you. I wanted to do this in 5 minutes, and I kept going so long. So I actually recorded this. So I'm going to just play this for you. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, host disabled screen sharing. Oh no.
Cheryl, can you give me host privileges?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I can. Let me give you host privileges.
Perfect.
I don't know how I got this.
Okay.
That's okay.
Interesting.
Can
There we
you try
go.
now?
Okay,
Because I
great.
was doing multiple.
Right now, yes, I've got it. Okay, so here we go. Share the screen now, and I'm hoping you guys can see my screen, right?
We can see it.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So we go into Gradescope and you set up your courses. So I have set up a sample Journalism 311 course, and we are writing articles in here. And the first one that we are grading is event news articles. So the students have to write an article, and they have to write a headline, they have to write a deck, a byline, a dateline. Their article that has to include who, what, where, when, why, how. It has to have AP style. They have to have no spelling errors, and it has to be grammatically correct, factually correct. They have to use quotations, and then obviously there's a creative writing element. So I have separated my rubric into categories as to how I would grade it. And this is in the form of questions in Gradescope. So when I set this article up, I had to have a template because that's how the AI can help you. That's the only way the AI can help you is if you have a template. So I've saved this. I'm in my questions for Gradescope. I click on the first question, and this is going to let me put them into groups. So I'm going to review ungrouped answers because I'm manually sorting them into groups. And then I can place this one. This is with missing one item in format. That means maybe it doesn't have a date line. And this one doesn't have a deck. So this and a date line. So this is missing more than one item. This one is missing a lot, so more than one item, multiple items missing. I have them categorized into 3 separate things, and you sort them as to how you want to grade them. So this one doesn't have, this one's missing more than one item. This one's missing multiple items. This one's missing multiple items. So you just sort them out. So you sort them out. This one's correct, and this one's missing more than one item. You grade the answers. Basically, I can go to the top and see this is the group that has the correct format. So 0 points are taken off. So yes, that's correct. So then I look at my next group at the top. The group is missing one item in news format. So I'm going to click here, and they're going to get -2. I'm going to go to the next group. So this is a group that's missing more than one item in news format. So that's missing multiple items. So I click here, and that takes off 3 points. And then I go to the next question. And that is the lead in the news article. So again, I'm going to sort them into groups. So I'm going to review the ungrouped answers. And here I have it into 3 subcategories. You know, lead is correct, lead is fair but could be improved, or the person buried the lead. So I'm going to read the lead of the story, and then I'm going to say, put it in the categories. This lead is fair. Oh, this is not good. This is horrible. They buried the lead. This one is fair. And then I just go through all of them and set them into categories. And so that one's okay. It's good. And just, you know, you go through this with all of your stories or articles or essays or whatever you have. And of course, you can set up more groups. I could set up 4 groups if I wanted to, but it just is easier for me if I do this in 3 groups. So there we go. And then I go to grade answers. So up on top, I can see that this is the lead is fair, but could be improved. So that's this one. So that will grade all of the articles in that group. I go to the next one. This is the group that buried the lead. They get all -3 points off. I go to the next group. This is the one that has the lead correct, so -0. So they get all 3 points. And then I go on to the next item, and you just go through all of them, and it helps you sort them out. But then when it comes to writing my last group, I really have to read the story. So that will take some time, but it really saves me time as far as all of the other things are concerned, as far as, you know, looking at format, looking at the lead, looking at if they have the who, what, where, when, why, how. That takes a little bit more time because it takes me reading the article. But then I can take my time once they're sorted into groups, and then I can say, you know, this one had the sentences were too wordy in this story. This one used redundant words, and then sort them into groups. Use passive verbs. Next time, use active verbs. And then I feel like this does save me time grading. Okay. And then I like the statistics as well. I know Chungmin Lee showed that. And do I have to share a different screen, right? When I'm sharing, let's see, share this screen right here. I like the statistics, and it tells you, you know, so where the students had problems. And if I see that, you know, they're still having problems with having a headline, deck, dateline, byline, then I know we need to work on that. I mean, usually I would expect the format by the middle of the semester, by the time they reach their 3rd article, nobody's really going to miss this area. And then I might have another area that we need to work on. So I think it's helpful because I know in Beachboard, we have to download each article, and then that takes time. So you're sitting there when you're grading, you're sitting there downloading the article, and then you're looking at the rubric individually, and you're having to go through each item again. So I really like Gradescope. I know they said they're improving it for essays, and so I think it's just going to get better.
Thank you so much, Professor. Next on deck, Professor Jelaine Treasurer.
So, hi, I'm trying to share screen. I think I'm there, yes. So my name is Jelena Trajkovic. I am assistant professor and faculty champion in CCS department. And I actually started using Gradescope when the pandemic started with my student assistant, Jose Aceves, and he's the master student in our department. So we have the same setup for most of the courses that I do use. So let me go back and look a little bit at assessment in general for all the classes that I use. We do have homework. We have lab assignments, and they are hands-on lab assignments. Some of them include software only, lots of them include software and hardware. And for that, they need to do lab reports and demos. Here, I do not use Gradescope, to be honest with you. I'm more focused on live demos for that. Then we have in one of my classes that is really supporting active learning even in online format. We have formative quizzes that are done 2 times per week, basically before each class. And then we have written exams, which are midterms and finals, and that is where Gradescope comes into place for me. In this way, I do have variety assessment methods. So what I focus on is that there are a variety of learners, and therefore I'm going to try to get each one opportunity to try to shine in one of the areas. And the other thing, I think this kind of helps preserve academic integrity because, you know, if you mix live conversation, written responses, homework assignments, lab reports, people who shine through all those are the ones who are doing well and who are true to their academic integrity. If you look at this, I have a little bit funny setup, and I don't know if you see my entire screen shared. So on the right-hand side, you see the general setup on the top, you see the general setup of my exam. First, I have like integrity statement, and then I have multiple choice questions or short problems that are pulled from question library. And then I do use even Beachboard. If you see that on the bottom, there are like 3 free response questions that I give my students. So what I want to facilitate is that I want to take best of both worlds. I want to get automating and shuffling from Beachboard, and then I want to have free response questions from Gradescope. So I ask students to reply to those 3 free response questions, and I actually even ask them to submit their work to Dropbox on Beachboard. Therefore, I have students interact with only one platform. To the best of my knowledge, shuffling and randomized questions and so on and so forth are yet not implemented in Gradescope. So that is why I invented this Frankenstein kind of contraption of two different platforms. And in order to help myself, I actually provide full template of this kind of exam before exam. So this is a mock exam that students can learn how to deal with this before they get into exam. And I also provide a template from free response questions. So what I do, and Jose and Jelena, what we do is we download all the PDFs from Beachboard and then upload them to Gradescope. We actually even made a video of how to use for this scenario, and I'm happy to share the pointer to that We posted it on a College of Engineering Teaching Innovation website. We're happy to share with the entire CSULB. So what we do is we start, and this is fairly common thing, upload the class roster. Then we decided that we are going to upload the PDFs of the assignments, and then we grade. So like my colleagues said previously, you can grade in groups, you can grade individual, and then it's a horizontal grading for each question, which is fabulous. We can create rubric as we go, or we can create a rubric ahead of time. Also, what I love about Gradescope, if you, let's say, are getting to look through, I don't know, 35 students, and after student number 6, you figured out, well, maybe 2 points for error X is a little bit, maybe I should give 1.5. If you change that, that is going to trickle down and propagate to all other graded items. And also, what the other thing that I like, you have possibility to provide comments. Some of them are typed comments, and they're on the bottom of the screen for the Gradescope. I don't think I have the screenshot for that. If I do, I'll show you. But also, you can have a drop-down menu so that you can apply previously typed comment, and then you can do handwriting, like our colleagues showed at the first talk. And then at the end, we export or publish grade. We can use Gradescope. Well, export grades, that's what I do because I want to have them do a Beachboard interface. But when you publish grades, students are going to get it from Gradescope individually. So to kind of sum up, I do not require my students to have a separate Gradescope account. And so far, I kind of like it that way. If they want to look at the feedback, I will allow them, but I'm not requiring them. So I guess all of my talks have to have something to do with music because my previous one had actual music samples. I'll say this part of it is called You Live, You Learn. One thing that I have learned is that Gradescope actually, when you are importing roster, you need to do it from a .csv file, which is comma-separated format of Excel form. And mandatory fields are first and last name that can be combined and can be separated. This is fabulous that they have flexibility. And basically detection of first and last name from the scanned paper from PDF works fabulously. But what is a little bit funny is that they do require email. And please, Beachboard personnel, scold me. I never asked, how could I do that easier? I'm having really tough time. We were kind of populating manually those emails to have CSULB emails rather than Beachboard emails there. The other thing is I really like to use fixed template. However, between fixed template and variable template, what I learned is the students are really creative when it comes to mistakes. So even though we have practice quiz and practice template and practice Dropbox, and I sit through all my exams and say, hey, guys, I need to, if you have any problems, please let me know. Even for my graduate class, which was small, I had like 40% of students mess up this fix template. So what I learned from my student assistant is when you're creating an assignment, it benefits to do a little workaround. You first put the thing that you want a student to upload the work, and you put it to be variable length. However, that is kind of a little bit problematic because then we would need to upload one by one student, which is really time consuming. Even for medium-sized classes, which are like standard ones in our department, 35 students, you don't really want to do one by one. What we did is we set it up initially with variable length. Then we did work around before managing scans, and that is this option here. We change it to, here it is, to who will update so start with this setting. And then when we do manage scans, we change to this settings, and we still have flexibility to basically work on student submissions that do not comply with our template. So that was kind of big revelation for me while I was grading last week. The other thing that I absolutely love is the feedback that students are getting. And this is the feature on the bottom that I mentioned. So you have a drop-down menu in which you can write down what are your comments. And out of all the other thing that I really like is that I can have multiple things with the same points deduction just to indicate what is wrong with some submission. So for example, here I have -1 point, but it says A, B, or C not correct. And then I had a drop-down menu where I selected C not correct to give more feedback. I export as an Excel file the entire report. And also what I do is from that Excel report, I actually export the sum of points per each problem. And then I publish that in form of feedback. So because each submission has its Dropbox entry, I copy the feedback in terms of, Dropbox feedback. What I haven't done so far, and that is something that I would like to learn more about, I haven't really involved students, so publishing feedback. So far, I haven't tried. And the other thing that I would like to look more into is managing regrade requests. For now, my students have been really happy. I don't know why, because everything, maybe it's because everything is spelled out to details, so that these are two things that I would really like to come into more knowledge about. So kind of to conclude this is setup and learning takes a little bit of time. However, when we come to grading, this is really, really done very fast. So when I graded my graduate class, which was a small class, I literally took like a half a day to finish off entire grading. And grading itself, even though I was doing grading for each assignment was separately, I didn't group them, was done really, really quickly. I really like keeping this hybrid approach where I mix beadwork quiz and free response question. And if you want to chat more about, please let us know. Contact me and my student assistant, and I will be happy to connect with other people and learn from you and maybe learn something together. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. And the next person is Professor Banks Allen. And I believe we've given you the host privileges.
Okay, great. Thanks. So I'm in biological sciences, and let me see if I can share this. So I think I don't have a lot to add that's different, I think, from what we've been hearing, but I do just want to point out a couple of things that I think are really useful about Gradescope. First is which I think Elena just mentioned, is the dynamic rubric. So the idea, and this actually I think is super useful, because I'm currently teaching classes that are actually not that big. They're about 20 students each. And so I don't really need I don't get the advantage for the most part of Gradescope that you get in terms of the efficiency of scale if you have a really large class that you're processing exams through. But one thing that's really nice though is I do use a rubric for short answer and essay kinds of questions, and it's dynamic. And so if as Joanna said, if you decide halfway through grading that you're actually really should be taking off a different amount of points, or that you should be adding something, if you change the rubric, it auto or retroactively changes the scoring and or comments, whatever you've it applies it retroactively to everything you've already graded. And so not having to go back through and make sure that you're being consistent is pretty great. The other thing I just want to mention is, although mostly we've been talking about, scoring assignments that are uploaded, Gradescope does have a beta version, so they're still working on it. They're basically still improving it, of online only assessments. So you can set up an assessment like each board, with quizzes or something like that. But you can have a variety of types of questions, fill in the blank, matching, ordering things, multiple choice, multiple selects, so forth. And also you can have students upload things. So here, for example, you can ask them to do a short answer question, or they could upload a file. If they wanted to have them draw something out by hand, or write out a formula, and then take a picture of it and upload that or something. So there's a lot of flexibility with the online grading as well. That's probably, hopefully after next semester, maybe not going to be as important. But I actually use online quizzes quite a bit for my current classes, where I have the students that are available all week. And so there's no time limit or anything like that. But the students are able to, I just sort of assume it's more of a formative assessment rather than a summative assessment. So I want to sort of use that to give them feedback and hints and things like that.
Hi, this is Cheryl. Jelena has her slides open. Jelena, if I could have you close yours. Thanks. Some folks didn't know you had slides up. I'm so sorry.
All right.
And I was actually
okay.
seeing black screen. I'm sorry about it.
It's a new feature that you could have multiple people share. And I thank you for that. So if you wanted to, yes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. It looked to my mind like it was working. So anyway, well, I was just going to say, here's the dynamic rubric. You can change values here, and it retroactively applies them. Or the online assignment. So, in addition to multiple choice, fill in the blank, that kind of thing, you can also have short answer, or here, for example, you could have students upload a file, part of their answer, and then of course you can create the rubrics like everybody's been showing to score those. And the advantage of that is, like I said, I use the quizzing function in Beachboard, just for sort of a formative assessment. But one of the advantages of setting up a similar, even if it's just multiple choice assessment in Gradescope, is the data that you get back. This is, and a few people have mentioned this, but I think this is one of the really nice features, particularly if, for example, you're going to use in a large, lower division course, maybe where everything is multiple choice. And so traditionally, we would use ParScore or Scantron for that, when it's hand bubbled. But you can do the same thing with Gradescope, and you can submit a bubble assignment, so much like a Scantron, except that the key thing you get back is these data, the assignment and question level data. And so I can't remember who showed this, but there's sort of the assignment level data where you can see for each question, what was sort of the average, or some other statistics about it for the class. If you click on a specific question, you get question level statistics. And so then you can break down, you can see by rubric points, where are the students missing points. You can see in this case, it looks like there's a pretty broad distribution of point values. Whereas if you have a bunch of zeros and a bunch of fours, that tells you something else. And here you can click on each of these to see where are they losing these points. And then the final thing you can do with these sort of data analytics is you can tag questions. So you can add for each question one or more tags. For example, so if you want to track a concept through your course in terms of ability to write a headline or whatever it is, and you want to see how are people doing in terms of points on that throughout the course, or even if you were more organized in a department, you could almost do this as a curriculum level assessment. How are the students doing learning evolutionary biology questions from their freshman level up to graduating or something like that. So I think the ability to it's not just scoring, but the ability to actually information in a way that you could do something with it, I think is super valuable. And that's actually one of the things I think that is most about the potential for getting a university level sort of buy-in to this, is that sort of integration with the Beachboard learning management system, and the ability to, I think, really do some powerful analysis of where our students are, what they're learning and what they're struggling with, I think. So that's really all I have, I think, unless people have questions.
Thank you so much. I'd like to open up for questions. I know this has been quite quick, This is a platform that, again, is being offered for free from Gradescope. It is available currently now and could be used for an assignment as a test purpose. This pilot is going on independent of academic technology services, but we are thinking of possibly putting a pilot, depending on the response, in the spring. And that might include integration. We just want to know who is interested in this. And also, actually, could I have a show of hands of who is using it right now? And this could be in the reactions. I think there's a thumbs up. Okay. So if there's anybody else who's interested, if you can just email me and I'll type my email address in here. I would love to know if others are using this, but let's open it up for our guests and we can answer your questions. So any questions, any burning questions about this platform?
I have a question. So are there possibilities for kind of hot, I don't know what they're called, but I've heard them referred to as hotspot questions where you can click on an image, like say, you know, you want to ask where is Austin, Texas, and then you would click Austin, Texas on a map, something like that.
Actually, Janelle, that would actually be another platform that we're looking at. Actually, there's two platforms and they'll be coming up in November and December. So the first one is PlayPosit, and it offers video related multiple choice questions or hotspots within the pictures. And then there's Poll Everywhere, which is a polling just in time learning that you could put inside the classroom through Zoom, or you could actually have it as a latent survey. So if you look at our Tech Tuesdays that are upcoming, that's going to be spoken on those 2 days.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty much Gradescope is a scanner. Oh, bang.
Well, I was to say, so, right, there's not, I don't think there's the interactive version like you're talking about, but certainly if you had a map and you asked them to color in, you know, a region or a state or something like that, it would scan that, you know, and actually the AI interface they have, which I guess we didn't really talk about, depending on how complicated your answers are, or the student, you know, that you're having the students do, and particularly if you can, you know, like for math, for example, if you box them and say, you know, your work out here, but then put the final answer in here, if you can train Gradescope to, they have an AI interface that will actually sort those by similarity. And so it will group them, you know, so for what you were talking about, you know, it would say, yeah, all the maps that have the right state colored in, they'll go over here. The ones that have, you know, are missed it are over here. And again, you can then go retroactively double check it and reassign stuff if you don't like the way Gradescope did it. But yeah, so there's so not exactly what you're talking about, but there is definitely some other features that we didn't really even touch on, I think.
Thank you.
So for those of you who are interested, I just put in the Gradescope how to get started. So it gives you an overview of the kind of support that's available. It does a lot of step-by-steps and you can jump in wherever you want to start it. So I'll provide that resource after we've completed this. Any other questions?
I'm Steve Adams. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I have a question for any of the speakers who's used the grading software that is linked with Turnitin. I think it used to be called GradeMark or something like that. But if anybody's used that grading software that is part of that package, could compare what they like or dislike with this package.
Is there anyone who's
the previous one?
So
Yeah, I've not had it. GradeMark.
I think GradeMark is is actually built into Turnitin. I think the Gradescope offers a little bit more depth and capabilities on giving feedback in a methodical and flexible way at the same time. I wish I had more information. I know that our new AVP, Dr. Sharika Med, has been using GradeMark and he likes it. This is just another platform that also has Scantron abilities, you know, multiple choice. And so we were looking at exploring this and have had heard other campuses had adopted this in some fashion, either with a department or a college. And we had people that were experimenting with it. And that's why we brought this community together.
Yeah, I guess I would say there's definitely overlap with some of the other tools that are available, and even the ones that we currently have in Beachboard. But I think for me, the two key things, one is the dynamic rubric, you know, the idea that you can retroactively change things and it applies to the whole class, which is pretty awesome. And then the other is like I said, the analytics that you get back, the data. So for example, you know, if you just have multiple choice and it scores it as correct or not, we can do that in Beachboard already, but you don't get any of the data about what are they getting wrong, you know, which questions are, you know, are the C students consistently, you know, putting answer B instead of D. I mean, you know, you get a lot more information back, I think, with Gradescope. So it's not that you can't do some of the stuff in other ways, you certainly can, but it does offer some additional tools that I think are pretty nice.
The other thing is, you know, for the most part, because people teach large classes, they don't necessarily know that they can actually have something through the use of technology can accelerate grading or make it more consistent. So that is part of the reason why they go to multiple choice questions. In this case, this allows for multiple choice questions, and then you can experiment with some of the questions that could be scanned in either through a scan or through your phone or however you can get that up there. So it offers interesting features that may help us transition to alternative forms of assessment other than multiple choice.
So one of my colleagues that I talked during Champion Hours last week is teaching programming, and particularly there are pieces of code that needs to resolve certain situation. And when I showed him that he can group things and then grade groups, something that is correct, like I believe Elizabeth was the one who was showing that, something that has correct one feature, other feature, third feature, he was completely thrilled with that. So I believe that, you know, it can be both in liberal arts and in scientists. That feature can be really, really very helpful, and especially with large classes.
Yeah, that's another feature, I guess, that none of us really highlighted because we're not probably teaching that kind of class. But because of this this online dynamic rubric thing, you can have multiple people grading at the same time using the same rubric. And so you could, if you had 10 TAs that you're in charge of, you could go through the rubric, build the rubric with them, or have it already show them how you want them to score it. And then they can just do that, and you could spot check and cross check to make sure that the distributions are similar or so forth. In other words, there's a lot of ability to sort of organize across a larger people that are grading a single exam or assessment, which is kind of for a big class. Again, I think the benefit scales up to these larger.
And there is a silly thing that I have to admit. I really don't mind paper grading, and I'm really very fast with paper grading. And I'm fairly consistent, but recently I stopped doing horizontal grading on paper grading because I really didn't want to, flip one student, put it on the side, flip another student's page and put it on the side. This so nicely facilitates the horizontal grading, and you have both options. There is on the bottom, on the right-hand side is the button that says grade next ungraded assignment, or on the sides of the paper preview, you can go through different pages of the same student. And the thing that I was talking about variable length with versus fixed length of the assignment. In variable length, when you upload the student's assignment, you can actually move things and rotate things, because my students were doing like all sorts of creative things. So there was no, I said, my questions are A, B, and C. So that was out of order. There were multiple pages for questions. There were pages that are scanned and uploaded this way rather than this way, and so on and so forth. And that all can be done while managing the assignments, which I didn't know, and I did it manually. Then I met with my student TA, and he taught me that. So thank you, Jose.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm in the Department of History, and one of my classes is the students are given, out of 25 essay prompts, they're given 10 and they have to respond to 5. And so they don't all respond to the same question. But what I've been hearing is it sounds like the Gradescope could sort that for me so I could see all the students who answered question number 2 and grade those at the same time. Because I used to do that when they turned in the green books, you know, because it was easy to, but with Dropbox, it's not been convenient. So I've just been grading each student one after the other and not seeing them together. So would I be able to have it sorted like automatically using the AI into stacks by question?
You could actually sort it out yourself by looking at the question, because I did try to use the AI sorting, but because all my students were covering different events, it didn't work.
Okay.
So, but you could manually do it, and it's actually pretty easy. Depending on, excuse me, depending on what prompt they answered, you could manually sort it. It's almost like, I look at it almost like taking, you know, paper copies and then throwing it into this pile, throwing it into this pile. And I have another class where I kind of do that as well, but I haven't tried Gradescope for that. But it's funny that you mentioned it, because I was thinking, okay, that's the next area I need to try, where they're all doing different assignments based on 5 that I give them. And it would be easier to sort it, because let's face it, when you're grading on Beachboard, you're kind of losing your, you know, train of thought, because you're downloading one person's assignment and you don't know which one they picked, and then you're able to see it, and then you're on a roll grading it, and then you go to somebody else's and it's a different prompt, and then you're grading that, and then you're back to the other one, and you want to be consistent. And even though you're using a rubric, because it's a different prompt, there's different things they have to include.
Right, because some of it is like it's more formulaic, like they need to have a thesis, they need to reference certain things, but then the content part is the biggest part of their answer, and that's different for every prompt.
Right. So I think it would work well for that. So
yeah, we have another one coming up in a couple of weeks, so maybe I will try to see if I can. Do you have to have your students sign up for Gradescope in order to have them put it in?
yeah, that's what Jelena was talking about. So she said that they upload the CSV file. I had them all sign up for it, because, you know, it is time consuming having to put in every single person's email in there. So I don't know how the university feels about that, but I just had them all individually sign up for an account on Gradescope, and it's because it's free right now for everyone.
And I think that actually makes sense if you are using Gradescope only. That, you know, that saves you updating the emails in the CSV file, and it saves you providing the feedback, because, I mean, outside of the Gradescope, you just click on, you know, provide feedback. It sends email to students, and students can get everything that you put in that assignment. So I think, you know, having them sign for Gradescope, if you're using Gradescope only, I think that totally makes sense.
I have one last follow-up question. Does it include a plagiarize like check the way that Turnitin does?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I had to actually turn it on Beachboard, turn it in off, because since it's news articles can be similar. So that was throwing me off. So I don't know. Does anybody else know the answer to that?
I don't know really.
Yeah, I don't know either. I was gonna because in the smaller classes where I have more of the writing, short answer and things like that, I was doing I think what you it does, which is load to Dropbox, and then I batch upload to Gradescope, and so that way you could have have it turned on, the feature turned on in Dropbox, and then you just process them after the fact. And I don't know, one of the things that what we don't have currently is the integration with a learning management system with Beachboard. And so I don't know how that changes workflow potentially, because if we have an institutional license, then that's an option. And so then, it really does away with the whole having the students sign up for Gradescope, or do they sign up into they have Beachboard. I mean, if it's all integrated, then that maybe makes some of these questions less difficult. I don't know. Maybe.
So I would kind of maybe ask Elizabeth, because you're grading essays, there is nothing in the handwritten text that Gradescope recognizes.
You mean for the AI feature?
For the AI feature, yeah.
Right. So I had to sort it out manually, but it still is a lot easier. They told me they're working on it though.
No, so I was just wondering, because I didn't use any processing of the answers in my Gradescope. The Gradescope was only indicating, so I put a frame around the place where the answer is, and it was showing me that. So everything that was around answer, that was something that I was manually I was observing and grading. So I'm just kind of thinking that if there is an AI feature, then they might figure out similarities between and use it for plagiarism, but I haven't used it.
Right. They did tell me that I could try the AI feature, but it would depend, because each student too is doing it a little different. Like some center their headline, some have it all the way to the left. And so that's why it wasn't working when I originally had that on, then I had to turn it off and then do manual sorting. So
we can find out more from the vendor. Of the people who are on the panel, or the lightning talk panel, can you tell us who you're working with, or if maybe you're working with the same person? Because I think in light of this, we're coming towards the end, I think those contacts could be used by the individuals in this forum.
So I've been working with Dominic. I started out working with Olga, and then I think I was asking too many questions, honestly. And so she put me over with Dominic, and he's been very available. I think it's Dominic Padilla, I think. And it's actually just help through Gradescope, but when I address it to him, it goes directly to him. And I had some questions yesterday, and he actually was able to do a Zoom call with me an hour later. So he's been very helpful.
So just to reiterate, my team in ATS does not have a background in Gradescope, so we're learning along with everybody else. But we know that the vendor is available, and they're interested in working with any faculty that are interested in looking at this product. And we'll keep our finger on the pulse of this, and there'll probably be talks about this moving forward. Our next big gathering is going to be the Go Virtual Unconference. Will be on Friday the 13th, November 13th, 2020. And it'll be looking back at what we've accomplished this summer and what's next for us. And it's going to be facilitated by Dr. Rita Conrad. There will be a panel discussion by students, as well as lightning talks towards the end of the program, with more of a brainstorming ideation session in the middle. So we're coming down to the last 6 minutes, and I will open it up to any other further questions, but I wanted to share, this is the Get Started page. I put that into the chat there, and I'll be sending this out again. But again, it shows all the different ways you can look at this tool.
Do you think that it would be beneficial? I mean, I'm happy to share the video that Jose and I made. It is for our use case, but it has some of these kind of simple things put in one video. I mean, they are not videos from Gradescope. They are just, we made it as we were going. If
Yeah.
you want to, I'm happy to share it, and you can put it somewhere on Beachboard.
That would be great. Is there a web link that you can put into the group chat, and I'll make sure that
It is on my OneDrive, so I will be sending it to you at some point of
Okay.
time. In
Sounds
your,
great.
yeah, you can download it and go from there.
Sounds great. We have one of my colleagues, Stafford Cox, and Stafford's in charge of the Scantrons here on campus. Stafford, would you like to share any reflections that you have in looking at this new technology?
Hey, happy Halloween, everyone. Just in case I miss you later on in the month. But I'm trying out different backgrounds, and this is the season. Concerning Scantron and ParScore, I'm running a survey poll on usage concerning Scantron, and that will be concluding at the end of the month. And I can share that those results with this group if Cheryl can send it out to you, I guess. But no, I think Gradescope is a fascinating product. I don't teach a class, but I would hope everyone can experiment with it while it's free. It seems like we're going to be, conducting classes more and more with, or at least more classes with distance learning. And this product would allow you to not use a Scantron sheet, but at the same time, your students are going to have a level of technology to also participate, it sounds like. And they all have cell phones, which have cameras. So the worst, they're going to take snapshots of their work if they can't dump it into PDF and upload it, that sort of thing.
Actually,
But
there are fabulous PDF converting apps like Scanner for cell phone. They work wonders.
yep. So it's almost coming too fast. But thanks for asking, Cheryl.
Thank you so much, Stafford. I love your background. Are there any other questions? We have 3 minutes remaining. And if not, I can give everybody back 3 minutes for the rest of the day. Well, I'd like to thank our guest speakers for coming and sharing their experiences. Really, a lot of the educational technology is moving so quickly that even academic technology services cannot keep up. So we're grateful to have colleagues in all the colleges that are willing to share their experiences with these platforms, even as we are moving through the virtual fall and into the virtual spring. So without further ado, I'd like to thank Francisco Romero and Preston Wingrove for supporting our webinar. And thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.